Imagine finding out your registered voting neighbor claims to be over 1,000 years old.
Right.
Or that simply renewing your driver's license could accidentally trigger your deportation and land you in a federal prison.
Yeah, sounds completely absurd, like some kind of paranoid bureaucratic thriller.
Exactly. But as of June 2026, I mean, that is the exact reality that's just exploding out of New Jersey right now.
It really is. And we are looking at this massive collision of, ancient technology, huge demographic movements, and really high-stakes federal law.
Right.
And the data we have on the table today, it really lays bare just how fragile the machinery of American democracy actually is behind the scenes.
Well, let's just get right into the facts of this massive legal and political pileup. So just a quick 90-second breakdown for you listening. The Department of Justice recently sued a top New Jersey election official.
Yeah.
And they're pointing to this abnormally high, like 94.8% voter registration rate across the state. So the DOJ is demanding total access to the state's unredacted voter rolls.
Which is a huge move. But then the NAACP officially intervened in federal court to block the DOJ from getting that data.
Right.
Their argument is basically that the Department of Justice is, weaponizing this data to intimidate minority voters and laying the groundwork for aggressive voter purges.
And then at the exact same time, you have this GOP election integrity task force releasing findings claiming they've uncovered hundreds of non-citizens on the New Jersey voter rolls, including at least 30 individuals who have actively cast ballots.
Yeah, it's a mess.
It's a total mess. Now, before we look at a single piece of data, we need to make something crystal clear to you listening. We are not endorsing the DOJ or the NAACP or the GOP viewpoints here.
No, not at all.
We are just acting as impartial guides to convey the documented facts of the situation.
Yeah, exactly. The goal today isn't to, validate a political talking point. Our mission is to look under the hood at the source material and figure out the actual mechanics of how we arrived at this crisis.
Right. We want to explain to you why voter list maintenance is just so incredibly complicated, why the data gets this messy, and how this ultimately impacts your own vote. I mean, is maintaining a national voter roll basically like trying to manage a giant nationwide group chat where nobody ever tells you when they change their phone number?
I mean, honestly, that analogy gets right to the heart of it.
Really?
Yeah, think about it. If you run a group chat and someone gets a new phone number, they just sort of disappear from your view.
Yeah.
But their old number stays in the chat.
Yeah, and you send a message and it just goes into the void.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, multiply that dynamic by hundreds of millions of people, make the stakes the actual foundation of a representative democracy, and then this is the kicker, rely on technology from half a century ago to manage all those updates.
Oh, man. Let's start by looking at what the sources call the ghosts in the machine, just focusing on the data from the Public Interest Legal Foundation, or PILF.
Okay.
They pulled the specific voter roll data for New Jersey, and it is staggering. I mean, we are talking about 8,239 duplicate registrations at the exact same addresses.
Yeah.
And these are mostly just typos, like someone registered as Christopher and somehow also registered as Christoph or Julia and Joel.
Well, see, the human brain easily recognizes that Julia and Gila living at the exact same address are the same person.
Right, obviously.
Yeah, a modern search engine would autocorrect that in a millisecond.
Yeah.
But the state's legacy computer systems, they literally lack the code to flag proximity matching on names.
Wait, really?
Yeah. So the system treats a transposed letter as an entirely new, distinct human being. It just blindly generates a second, unique voter identification number.
That's wild. But the typos are really just the beginning. The data shows 33,572 fictitious placeholder birth dates.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about tens of thousands of people officially listed as being born on January 1st, 1800.
Yeah, and this specific anomaly goes back to the transition from physical paper records to digital databases. So decades ago, when election officials were frantically typing up, thousands of old paper registration cards, they encountered forms where the voters simply forgot to write down their birthday.
Which happens all the time.
Right. But the new computer software had a hard-coded rule. Like, you literally cannot save a digital file without a birth date field being filled.
Oh, so it would just crash or reject it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to avoid deleting the voter entirely, programmers just instructed the clerks to use a universal placeholder, January 1st, 1800, just to force the system to accept the record.
Oh, okay. I mean, I understand a programmer's workaround, right, but some of the data goes completely off the rails.
Oh, yeah.
There are 56 active registrations with completely impossible birth dates that clearly aren't universal placeholders.
Yeah.
Like, there is one active voter reportedly born in the year 956 AD.
Yeah.
That is the time of the Byzantine Empire. And there are future birth dates, too, like people supposedly born on September 30, 2029.
Right. And those point to straight-up data entry errors.
Yeah.
Like a clerk's finger literally slipped on a keyboard while inputting a registration and turned a 1956 birth year into a 956 birth year.
Just a missing one.
Exactly. And because the software doesn't have basic modern validation checks,
Mm-hmm.
like a prompt asking, are you sure this person is 1,000 years old?
Mm-hmm.
That error is just permanently baked into the state's voter file.
Wow. But it's not just data entry slips. Look at the specific story in the sources about Patrick DePaula.
Oh, right.
According to the data, he was born in 1905, worked as a printer for the New York Times for 50 years. He died at the remarkable age of 105 back in 2010. Yet 12 years later, in 2022, he still showed up as an active registered voter in Hudson County. How on earth does a government system miss a recorded death for over a decade?
Well, for that, you have to look at the fragmented nature of state agencies. The bureau that issues death certificates does not share a unified real-time database with the county election office.
They're completely separate.
They are completely siloed. So if the paper trail of a death certificate doesn't get physically forwarded, or, if a batch file fails to upload properly between those isolated departments, the election system just assumes the person is still alive and residing at their last known address.
See, I just don't buy that it's an innocent, unavoidable tech failure. No. Every major bank in the world tracks billions of microtransactions a day across the globe without losing a single penny. My phone knows what I want for breakfast based on my location data. You cannot tell me the state government can't afford to track a simple change of address form or a death certificate.
Well, you're comparing modern fintech APIs, systems built in the cloud over the last decade that talk to each other in milliseconds to government infrastructure built when Richard Nixon was in office.
Wait, Nixon?
Really? Yes. It's not about the state affording the hardware. It's about the systemic risk of replacing it. State motor vehicle commissions and election offices often run on mainframes using a programming language called COBOL, which was developed in the late 1950s.
The 1950s.
Yeah. Most modern software engineers do not even know how to code in COBOL anymore.
So they're trapped in a digital time capsule.
Pretty much. I mean, replacing a state's entire COBOL mainframe is like trying to perform open heart surgery on a patient while they're running a marathon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If you rip out the 1970s system and the new implementation crashes, you don't just lose a few voter records. You could shut down the entire state's DMV for weeks.
Oh, and then nobody gets a license.
Exactly. Nobody gets a license. Nobody can register a vehicle. Commercial trucking halts. Politicians look at that risk and just decide to kick the can down the road.
So you end up with 1970s DMV computers trying to communicate with early 2000s election computers through clunky overnight batch processing instead of real-time APIs.
That's exactly right.
And when 28 million Americans move to a new home in a single year, that group chat we talked about just fractures.
It completely fractures. A voter updates their driver's license in a new state, assuming the government obviously knows they moved.
Right, because you told the DMV.
Exactly. But the new DMV computer fails to translate that data back to the old state's election office. So the voter remains active in a state they haven't lived in for years.
And these 1970s DMV computers aren't just failing to track when you move, they are also aggressively, accidentally registering people who aren't even legally allowed to vote.
Yeah, that's...
Because the DMV's priority is getting safe drivers on the road, not policing citizenship.
Which really brings us to the most heartbreaking part of our deep dive today, the non-citizen voting trap.
Yeah, this is a really tough issue, and it happens primarily through a system called automatic voter registration, or AVR.
Okay.
So lawful permanent residents, non-citizens who are legally in the country are entirely permitted to obtain driver's licenses and social security numbers.
Right, of course.
And the mandate of a motor vehicle department clerk is to confirm your identity and verify you are authorized to drive. They are not federal immigration officers. But because voter registration is bolted onto the process of getting a license, usually as an opt-out system, people just get registered automatically unless they actively fight through the digital prompts to decline.
Yes.
I saw a specific example of this in the sources. New Jersey Assemblyman Flynn had a constituent whose husband was a non-citizen.
Mm-hmm.
He went to the DMV to get a license. The constituent knew he wasn't a citizen and tried to ensure he didn't register, but the legacy system just pushed him through the automated flow and registered him to vote anyway.
Right. And you have to remember, the physical experience at the DMV plays a massive role here.
How so?
Well, think about it. You're standing in a loud room, staring at a tiny electronic signature pad. The clerk is rushing to get through the line and just tells you, sign here, hit the green button, sign here.
Yeah, you just want to get out of there.
Exactly. A non-citizen, whose first language might not even be English, simply follows the instructions to get their license. They have no idea that pressing the green button just added them to the state voter roll.
Which leads directly to the tragic situations we saw in Atlantic County, New Jersey. Over 50 non-citizens wrote official letters, literally pleading with the county to be removed from the voter rolls.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't political operatives trying to cheat the system. They were terrified individuals begging the government to undo an error. Why are they so desperate to get their names off that list?
Because the legal consequences for them are apocalyptic.
Huh.
Voting by an alien in a federal election, or even just lying about your registration status on an N-400 naturalization form, is a severe federal crime.
Oh, wow.
It carries a penalty of up to 10 years in federal prison, and it acts as an immediate trigger for deportation.
10 years.
Yes, your entire life in the United States, your family's future, is vaporized.
And the Department of Justice is actively enforcing this. The sources point to a specific DOJ action from May of 2026. They charged 4 resident aliens in New Jersey: David Newell, Jason Beadle Exum, Eden Choresh, and Abhinandan Vig. And the charges were for illegally voting in federal elections and falsely claiming to be citizens on their naturalization applications.
Yeah, and the profound tragedy here is that our fragmented government systems place the ultimate administrative burden on the most vulnerable individuals in the entire process.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
You have people doing everything by the book, meticulously trying to become American citizens. They go to the state agency to renew a required driver's license, and the state's outdated computer accidentally flags them as a voter.
They are terrified of ruining their path to citizenship, and the government is fundamentally saying, our 1970s mainframe made a programming error when you touched a green button, but you are the one going to federal prison and being deported for it.
It is a trap. It's built out of sheer administrative incompetence. It forces the individual to navigate this labyrinth of contradictory state and federal systems where one wrong step ruins their life.
Which sets up the verification puzzle perfectly. If the system is this broken, how do we fix it without disenfranchising millions of people?
Right.
Because we have 2 distinct approaches in the source material: front-end verification and back-end verification. So the front-end approach puts the entire burden on the voter before they even get on the list.
Exactly. And Arizona's HB 2492 is the prime example of front-end verification.
Okay.
That law required voters to provide physical documentary proof of citizenship, like a certified birth certificate or a passport, in order to register. It is a hard physical barrier to entry.
But that got messy incredibly fast, right? I mean, it triggered massive lawsuits and went all the way to a Supreme Court emergency stay.
It did, because the inherent flaw with the front-end approach is the reality of American demographics. Millions of native-born, fully eligible U.S. citizens simply do not possess a passport.
Sure.
Or, they don't have easy access to their original physical birth certificate. So while a law like that successfully blocks non-citizens, the collateral damage is massive.
It effectively blocks huge swaths of eligible citizens from exercising their right to vote.
Exactly.
Okay, so if the front end causes too much collateral damage, what about the back end? Having the government databases do the heavy lifting behind the scenes. Like, election offices could just ping a federal database to check your citizenship status.
Well, they try. The primary federal tool states use for this is called SVE, the Systematic Alien Verification for Entitlements Program.
Wait, if SAVE is an immigration database, wouldn't it completely miss native-born citizens? Like, I was born in Ohio. I've never interacted with federal immigration services. I'm definitely not in that database.
And that is its most glaring blind spot. SAVE was designed to verify immigration benefits like housing or work visas for non-citizens.
Oh, I see.
It was never built to be a national voter registration clearinghouse. If a state election official runs a native-born citizen through SAVE, it often returns a blank, which the state might incorrectly interpret as unverified.
Yikes. And what happens when it tries to verify someone who actually is in the system?
Well, it relies on a process called fuzzy matching.
What is fuzzy matching?
So if a name is hyphenated differently on a naturalization form versus the DMV record, or if there's a typo from that legacy computer we talked about, SVE might return a non-match.
Because it can't figure out it's the same person.
Right. Furthermore, SVE has a massive processing lag. If a lawful permanent resident takes their oath and becomes a full citizen on a Tuesday, the database might not reflect that update for months.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so if they register to vote on Wednesday, SVE incorrectly flags them as a non-citizen, and they get investigated for voter fraud.